Excuse me, I couldn't control that sneeze.
Jordan's got to go, buddy. Franklin.
Someone started strong for a minute.
Tell you what, the Cripper flex when the siren goes is becoming a real thing now.
How does he do it? Do it again.
Like that.
This is a real long press conference for me. This is really long. I'm very tired. All done. Good job. See you.
Did you miss that, Bucks?
No.
Ex-Cat and North Melbourne player Aaron Black, ex-Docker Stephen Giro, and ex-Hawthorn listed player Angus Dewar, all of them playing in the Ruffle right now.
Really?
So
We all love Leith. We all love Leith. We all love Leith. We all love Leith.
Jordan's dad's there as well, which is nice to see.
There was some very good stuff today. Some very good stuff. Our players are in place. Jack Riewoldt, nice to see you.
Boys, how are we?
Marcus Bontempelli, great to have you on board.
Thanks, gents.
How are you?
Yeah, no, good. So I got the little plastic guard on now, and yeah, find out probably later in the week when I do some training what it looks like coming this week. So
straight back in or through the VFL, you think?
Well, I said to the boys, the VFL had a massive win on the weekend too. I have played.
Might not get in for it.
I've played VFL 2s a long time ago. It's like a Star Wars film. Played VFL reserves, but no, I think if I'm lucky enough, hopefully I go back into the ones.
What do you have to do?
Just I
prove
think
it to yourself as much as
that's it, Jared. So it's like surgically, and from the surgeon I've been given, they're all clear. So it's just more pain management and function sort of stuff. So hopefully train tomorrow, and then a bit more later in the week.
You ever busted a thumb, Bond?
I haven't, but we play the Tigs next week, so I thought about squeezing a little bit harder on the way in.
He eyed me. Started already.
But no, I haven't had, a jarred one every now and again, but, Jack's pretty tough, so no doubt he'll find a way to get through it.
He'll play this week. Can we ask you about Dustin Martin?
Yep.
Jack, Jared said it really well last night. There's a fine line between having care for a person and being intrusive in his private life. How are the players and how are his teammates handling the situation with Dustin?
Well, I think you're right, because this happens to a lot of players in rehab. And it's funny because Dustin's not in rehab at the moment. Obviously, he's got other issues. But so let's say Kane Lambert, for an example. Kane Lambert has a hip injury, and every day he gets to the football club, and people show care by asking him how he's going. But
very annoying.
If you get asked 20 times during the day, every day, how's your hip? Like, it starts to become frustrating. I'm not to know that the next person's asking me about it. So it's a fine balancing act between reaching out to make contact with him and also letting him heal himself and go down the pathway of him getting better or I shouldn't say getting better, but him finding what he needs to find. So, yeah.
How important is it?
I've texted him, and a lot of the players have texted him.
Yep.
He's responded to a few guys, but is also taking his time to obviously deal with what he's dealing with.
And part of it is showing care,
Yep.
I would imagine.
Yep.
From one teammate to another teammate.
It's like Dustin's one of my best mates, and we've been through obviously great experiences that people would have seen on TV and watched us win grand finals together, but it's also many experiences at the club, and I love that Dimmer talked about last night on the show, talked about the Dustin that not many people get to see, and we're lucky to spend time with. He's a very fun, loving character, and that's that part of Dustin we haven't seen as much of, and I think it was probably clear to a few of us that he was really struggling before he probably even knew it himself. But I'm glad that he's identified it, and he just didn't try and push through what the burden on top of on him at the moment. I'm glad he's identifying it and trying to fix it and trying to get himself back to being the best Dustin he can be.
Because if you win another flag, you'll do what you've always done. Be really close to Dusty near the final siren, because you know the camera's going to go to Martin, and you're always the first person to Dustin Martin.
Well,
what a coincidence!
Half forward and I play centre.
Oh right,
it sort of works out pretty well. That
the last one was in defence, mate. You ran all the way.
The first one was in defence, and that was, and to my defence, that was Sean Griggs doing, because he got me down there. The three of us are pretty tight. He got me down there for that. So That's that. I'm not saying that one happened on purpose, but no, obviously a great mate of mine. And I think this is a really interesting period for football media, is that, like, I saw an article the other day about Scott Morrison, how much money he earns and whatnot. Then it had a plumber, and then it had an AFL footballer, and the person that everyone attributes to AFL football is Dustin, and had what he'd have to take, what pay cut he had to take in the COVID years. He's nearly the face of AFL football still.
Yep.
How's the media going to treat him when now his mates, the club, people that know him are crying out for people to take a step back and leave him alone?
Do you think the media's been respectful or not respectful?
I think we're teetering on a line at the moment where it'll be interesting to see where it goes, because it could go full paparazzi. Would you be surprised if it went full paparazzi and people are out there snapping him, saying, "Oh, I saw Dustin here, I saw Dustin
really
there"?
Disappointed.
I'd be gutted and disappointed if that happened, but I'm a realist. There's the first.
Yeah, I'm a realist as well, but I know I wouldn't like to see that.
No.
And this is why people like Dustin Martin hide in cars and go around the cloak of darkness and secrecy.
So it's going to be a really interesting time in football media to see who has great morals and who doesn't.
So you just put it on the line, mate. But it's a really interesting.
It's going to be really
interesting topic. Really interesting.
The trivial is the here and the now, isn't it? 0 and 2. Are you a bit jittery about 0 and 2? What are you thinking, Marcus?
Yeah, not ideal start the season. You always want to start the season in a winning way and a winning fashion. I think both games, from a football perspective, we've shown our best is thereabouts. There's probably been elements of both games you definitely walk away sort of unhappy with. The start in the Melbourne game is definitely that from the first one, and then in the second one, the second quarter probably gets away from us. We get to a margin, then we find our way back again and have a really good sort of patch through the sort of second and the third and fourth quarters, and then really felt like, to the Blues' credit, I think they're in really good shape at the minute. I think they've really developed their game with the quality of players they've got. Probably across the ground, they're going to be a tough team to beat this year, but probably felt like we missed out on opportunities probably late in that game to be a fair bit closer. So if you look at in each game in isolation, there's probably aspects from both games that we would have liked to have done better. But I think from looking at it holistically, the football's been okay. We've just got to tighten the screws on a few things, and hopefully that starts Thursday.
Well, the grittiness is there, so there's a massive tick. Getting yourself back in the game on the weekend and putting yourself...
Yep.
Outside, a lot of people, Marcus, are talking about Aaron Norton and the support he needs. Is it Jamara? They mentioned Bruce. Are we off the mark, or within the club are you also looking to try and find that synergy between Norton and somebody? Your name's been thrown up. We've got to play Bontempelli forward. We've got to give Jamara... we've got to give him consecutive games. We play English down there when Steph gets back. Are we far off the mark?
No, I think the talk, if that's a talk, that's what it is. Bevo and we at Football Club, you talk every year about trying to re-establish yourself. You can't take for given your previous form from the prior year. Obviously, playing in the one at the end of the year is a massive tick from our football development and growth perspective. But probably the team at the end of the year, especially probably Brucey, he was the key one from a key forward perspective who contributed a fair bit. It is probably the chemistry we're still trying to find, what the right look is down there and the right mix. We've got obviously pretty good depth from a midfield position. We've got, like you mentioned, a young key forward in Jamara who's continuing to develop and builds more growth with probably each game. So we probably haven't found the right mix just yet either. Like, it hasn't looked probably quite consistent in the first two rounds that we would have liked. But I think you're always trying to evolve on the go a little bit, and winning probably helps those issues.
So you go forward at times.
Yep.
Is that a runner situation, or is that the captain, Bontempelli? No, hang on, I'll look at what's going on here. I'm going to push forward, you push up. Do you do that off yourself? The
game just prior was a coaching decision, so that was from probably half-time. I spent a bit more time there and then probably played the whole last quarter forward. That was a bit because Nordy was, battling a big corky, and that was probably to give us a bit more help aerially. And obviously, Jamara still continued to work through games as a young key forward as well. So that probably in its, we had a number of sort of scoring opportunities and looks late. We just didn't convert them. But Carlton managed to make it pretty difficult for us in the last quarter. But I just feel like we're not far off if we can play, a tiny bit more consistently and get the game going probably more our way for 4 quarters. We're probably looking in a better spot.
Do you think Norton will play Thursday night?
Personal view or medical view?
Give me either. Give me both.
Just based on knowing him and what he's like and how combative he is, I think he'll be there. That hasn't been probably declared just yet medically. He trained a little bit the other day, but with these corkies, they can be quite significant. Can take till the last sort of couple of days to really settle. So
it was a big corky too, Jack.
Yeah, it was. Especially those ones in the air. When you plant it, it's often a bit more surface, but in the air, they can be quite deep. So he's a tough customer, but we'll wait till tomorrow probably to get the final say.
And the Hayden Crozier scenario, was that scary?
I think it is. Any situation where someone sort of faints out of the blue and especially right on half-time where we're pretty much just about to roll out for the second half and something like that happens, it does, you're only human for that to run through your mind about what the case might be.
How do we feel about that, being on TV? Do you think that should be broadcast?
I don't, personally.
It was troubling to see.
I've got a real issue with that.
Yeah, it was troubling to see it. I looked at it and I went, ooh.
Because I'm assuming that it isn't played in real live situation. He had a fit then, and that's on live TV. He's hooked up to.
He's got the ECG. He's got the ECG material on.
Is that not? That's
and
way
you don't
too,
want
that's way too private.
The further thing to it is the stress it creates for then family and friends.
Exactly.
Like I know his phone probably would have been blowing up post game for people who are caring, a bit like we were saying before with the outpouring of support sometimes, but for potentially his family and friends who are at home.
That happened to me last week. It's a bit more valuable than me, Bont. So just, where were you? Did you see it? How alarming was it in the room?
Out of the corner of my eye, I saw sort of Hayden slowly moving to almost to the ground to probably.
Did everyone run over? Did the teammates, or were you still zoned up?
The medical staff were pretty quick onto it, so they were pretty much around him. And it was literally just as we were about to walk out, we had our sort of final message from Bevo. We were about to move out to the ground to start the game, and that happened in probably the last 10 seconds. So it's hard to process that potentially in the game. Like we've had injuries in the past before where you potentially know a teammate's done something serious, but something a bit more like that, which is obviously immediately quite alarming. Now thankfully Hayden's okay, and they'll continue to sort of monitor him and look after him over the next few days. But not an ideal situation.
Shall we revel with one of your peers and just what Buddy Franklin was able to do?
Unreal, wasn't it?
You're actually a great counterpoint to go, OK, so statistically, how much more is this? You've played your career as a full forward, had a stellar career, highly decorated, and when you put them up side by side, Buddy's kicking 300.
Can we not do that?
Whose idea was this? This was Jared's.
Thanks, Jared.
And Buddy played
the fascinating fact is 39 games where he's kicked 5 goals. And that's not 38 games where it's 5 goals or more. He's kicked 5 goals in 38 games and only kicked 10 twice, I think it was. Which just the level of consistency.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what's scary is that Plugger averaged 5.5 goals a game, I think it was.
Peter Hudson's number 1.
He was 6 and
5.7, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Something like that. Isn't that incredible, isn't it, when you look back?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Just before we let you go, are you playing or not? I mean,
I told you what I did off the start.
I've forgotten.
I said I'm a chance to play.
Is that yes or no?
I'm on the next segment, so you can ask me then.
Oh, no, everyone.
What are you
Stay tuned.
Just you've played in the same era as Buddy for a period of your career.
Yeah.
What's your observation of him?
Oh, unbelievable. Easily one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest. It's, you do reflect on your career at different points probably throughout your career before you get to the end of it, and I sort of feel like that's one of the things I'm going to be most proud about, like when you finish up, is to say that you played in the era of Buddy and played against him and have little stories or moments to talk about and tell people. It just feels like he's definitely one of those players.
He says that you're the #1 player in the comp. Did you read that?
Yeah.
I only know that because
Marcus selfishly said upstairs that he was hoping he didn't get to 1,000 because they're obviously playing the Swans this week and wanted to live out the glory.
There was
then had second thoughts about it.
There was part of me that thought it would have been great to be a part of,
Yeah.
but upon seeing the vision, I think I was happy that.
Did you read that Lance Franklin said that you were the best player in the game by a long way? Did you read those quotes?
I heard someone had sent it to me, so I'm aware.
That's a really nice compliment from one of the best players that's ever played the game.
Yeah, it is. And then once again, it's a moment sort of in time that I won't forget the moment that I sort of read it or had it sort of made aware to me to think that probably the way that I view him, to hear sort of those words from him make it quite, special.
Terrific.
What about Jack?
You stay. We'll bring in...
What are we dealing with there?
Marcus, great to have you here.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Tuesday, top 3 Twitter moments
Twitter
of the
moments.
weekend. So a fire alarm at the MCG. That was
madness.
2 minutes that lasted.
Why didn't they jump the fence, Jared, and get on the ground?
Oh,
Jack?
They did.
They didn't.
The SCG.
out. Number 2, what the Blues were able to do, particularly in that second quarter.
I'll say it again, mate. The property developers, they are out.
Sunday afternoon of the Tigers, #1, is it?
And of course, the most moments, I imagine, of the year, let alone round 2, will be Buddy's 1,000th goal.